Welcome back. Thanks for being here. I'm Jen. This is a special Salty After Dark, which is not after dark at all. It's the middle of the day. Because, hi, welcome, all things love. Thank you for being here. I am super excited too for this episode because this is all about chapter 2 of If I Did It, Confessions of the Killer by OJ Simpson. So I thought I'd start. Hey, Tipton Mama, welcome. I put together a little clip. Whoa. Hearing myself just freaked me out. I put together a little clip that I would like to share with you. Go down memory lane really quick. It is, after all, almost a quarter century after the trial of the century. So I thought we'd, I'll share, look back at the story that some of us maybe watched 25 years ago, maybe if you've never seen it before, or I think we're all going to remember this. So I hope you like this little video. Yeah, it was perfect timing. Thank you for being here. I hope you like this little video. Let me figure out how to present. I'm gonna, I think, share my screen for this because it's not an MP3, not an MP4 yet, and share with you this little reel before we get started. Okay, and we're gonna do oh, I want to stream Movavi. See if I can do that. Let's just do entire screen. Let's do that. Yeah, entire screen. Also share audio. And there we go. All right. Let's make sure I have this up on the stage. Yeah. Can you guys see the screen? Yeah, you can. Okay. Here we go.
Monday, June 13, 10 minutes past midnight Pacific time. The bodies of Nicole Simpson and Ronald Lyle Goldman are found outside Ms. Simpson's Brentwood condominium. Wednesday, June 15, police sources confirm a match of the bloodstains found at the crime scene and O.J. Simpson's home. Later, police will not confirm reports Simpson is a suspect. Thursday, June 16, Simpson attends the funeral of his slain ex-wife with the couple's 2 children. The LA District Attorney's Office awaits lab reports needed to seek a warrant for Simpson's arrest. Friday, June 17, Simpson is charged with 2 counts of murder with special circumstances.
Unbelievably, the most watched, most wondered about man in America has gone missing tonight. He apparently disappeared from under the noses of his lawyers and doctors this afternoon, dodged an arranged surrender, and vanished into the Los Angeles haze. O.J. Simpson, one of our most public figures even before this week's incredible events, is now one of our most wanted ever. The football star, movie star, TV sports analyst, commercial pitchman is described as armed and dangerous, possibly...
911, what are you reporting? This is AC. I have OJ in the car. Okay, where are you? Please, I'm coming up the 5 freeway. Okay. Right now, we all be okay, but you gotta tell him to just back off. He's still alive, and he's got a gun to his head. Okay, hold on, man. Monica? He just wants to see his mother. Let me get into the house. Okay, hold on a moment. What's your name? My name is AC. You know who I am, goddammit. Okay. All right, sir. Hold on just a moment.
Hi, what's your name?
Oh.
Hello?
in a city besieged with stories. When you think what can top one with another, another occurs on this tragic June day. This is living drama. There's nothing else you can say, but we're going to stay with it. Conceivably, as a cellular phone, he could be on that phone right now, talking to his attorney, talking to somebody. There's no rule book on this because this hasn't happened. Earlier today, Robert Shapiro had arranged for OJ to turn himself in. Doctors were in attendance. They were all going to go together in a car because they were worried about suicide. When they went downstairs from a conference room at OJ's house, he was gone. Shapiro did not hear again from him. We then had a press conference later in which Shapiro announced that OJ had written sealed letters to his mother, to his children, had codified the will. That means might have changed an add or two and had the will certified, and then wrote a letter to the public.
Just let me get to my house.
Okay, we're going to do that.
I swear to you, I'll give you what? I'll give you me. I'll give you my whole body.
Okay.
I need to get to my house.
Okay.
Listen, Calder.
We're going to do that. Just throw the gun out the window.
I can't do that.
We're not going to bother you. We're going to let you go up there. Just throw it out the window, please. You're scaring everybody. Toss it, please. Too many people love you, man. Don't give it all up. Don't hurt everybody. You're going to hurt everybody.
I'm just going to leave.
No, don't.
Nicole. That's all I'm going to do. That's all
Hey,
I'm trying
listen.
to do.
Think about everybody else, all
I
right?
couldn't do it on the freeway. I couldn't do it in a field. I want to do it at her grave. I want to do it at my house.
You're not going to do anything. Too many people love you. Your kids, your mother, your friends, AC, everybody. You got the whole world. Don't throw it away. Don't throw it away, man. Come on. OJ?
Michael, based on your understanding of all these things and talking with the other psychologists and psychiatrists, could we in fact have OJ being totally in an unreal world here and not accepting the fact that he may have done what he did?
Sure. He was so depressed and he's so upset that we were concerned that he could hurt himself. And right now, this is a horrible thing we're watching, which the chances of this winding up, badly are great.
What in the world is on his mind at this point?
That's right.
This is the back way that he can get to his mansion.
That's right.
Okay, we're following not only black and white with their sirens on and their lights flashing, but again, there's about 10 private citizens on motorcycles who joined.
This is Jason Simpson right here. This guy, it's OJ's oldest son. And he's the one who runs up to the car. And then you're going to see police dragging him back, or somebody drags him back away. But when I first watched this, it was, who is this? Yeah, it's his oldest son.
There we go.
We're close to the house now. Very, very close. We're right in the neighborhood. We are right on the block where his house is.
Okay. And he is pulling in to the driveway. Someone is going to the door right now, Eric.
Okay. We're pulling up. Let me tell you what I can see. We just turned the corner. It's total chaos here. Motorcycles, black and white, people running around.
But the gates were open. He went right through. Someone came up to him and then was chased away by whoever the driver was. And two uniformed officers or uniformed men came up and pulled him away, flashing lights on both sides. And we are right here at a standoff.
As details develop here, we should be able to see quite clearly what will take place.
I doubt that he will be leaving again.
Okay, that is the man that got out of the car. That presumably is Al Cowlings. Now, Al Cowlings, we believe that to be Al Cowlings, holding his hand up, his palm up, perhaps toward the police officers behind him, pointing toward the front door at OJ Simpson's home. Obviously having a conversation with someone inside at this point.
Okay, here's a man is pleading to negotiate with people here, the police obviously, and it's obviously very stressful down there from these pictures, as you can see. A very delicate situation taking place as we watch here.
It appears from what we're hearing on the scanners They are trying to put a phone call, perhaps, from OJ through to his mother. They're trying to arrange that right now.
It's going to be getting dark pretty soon. The sun sets, I believe, around 8:04 today. It's 8:20 now, so the sun, well, it's 8:18 I have, so the sun set about 14 minutes ago.
We have Greg Lamont on the phone with us. Greg, can you now confirm that OJ Simpson is arrested?
Yes, sir. He is in custody over a very, what seemed like long, dramatic moment. I was fortunate enough to be listening to a very sophisticated police scanner via a local radio station. I was listening to the police officers talking back and forth with one another. There was a moment of silence, and then all of a sudden the officer said, "We have a code 4, which means they have their man in custody." This all happened just moments ago. It's been a very dramatic and topsy-turvy day, and it's certainly been an emotional one.
What a day.
What a day.
Greg, thank you for terrific reporting all day long.
Thank you.
All right. And we're going to stop sharing. All right, cool. And then I also made this little video file that does not have sound of the slow speed chase. I thought it'd be fun to watch in the corner while we talk about this, because honestly, it's mesmerizing. All right, let's just have that going on. Maybe, I don't know how I can trade these. Hold on. That's fine. I don't mind being smaller. Okay. So we're just going to watch that chase while we chat. All right. So Tipton Mama, let me catch up on chat here. Tipton Mama says, the first slow speed chase, it was. And as a Southern California resident, high speed chases were a staple for a long time, especially in LA. You hear on the TV or the radio, there's a high speed chase up the 405 freeway and moving on to the 5 and then the 805, and it'd be just take over the news. And that's all you'd see on every channel. There's even a Charlie Sheen movie called The Chase that is a play on high speed chases. So the slow speed chase was different for LA. Tipton Mama says those are not the actions of an innocent man. Yeah. So I read this part and I watched that part with a lot of generosity, because that can be just shock and grief stricken, and the actions taken together though were really not. In my opinion, they didn't seem innocent. Okay, so I put together an outline this time of the parts that I think are relevant, instead of just going through the book, which is fun, and I'll still read parts to you. But I prepared some notes. Okay, so chapter 1 ends, just to quickly recap, with covering OJ and Nicole's first meeting, which was actually the same day that OJ learned his current wife was pregnant with their third child, and right after Nicole's 18th birthday. Then the chapter ends with Nicole telling OJ that she wanted a separation and wanted to see other people. Chapter 2 now is called So Happy Together. And it begins with OJ saying that he accepted Nicole wanting to date other people. He chose to let her go and encouraged her because he felt that, she was young when she got with him. And if she dated other people, she might see he wasn't such a bad guy after all. So he would be good with it, and he wasn't jealous. That's what he says. And then he says that during the initial separation, he didn't date anyone else while she did. He said that she would actually call him and ask for dating and sex advice. And things like, how do I know if he really wants me for me or just wants sex with me? How do I know if he'll see me after I sleep with him? Those kinds of questions. And kind of takes a martyr's role of being this bestie to his ex-wife. But oddly, he doesn't tell us at all in this chapter how he feels about her. He does not seem to love her. He doesn't say he loves her. He talks about being into this woman, Paula, and enjoying being a single dad and choosing to have the lawyers always, handle the custody. So he says that at some point she went, actually, let me go back. He kind of glosses over seeing her through the windows one day at her apartment or her house. I think it was a condo, getting it on the couch with a guy. But he also glosses over why he was watching her through the windows. It's a little weird the way he describes it. He was there for a reason, but then he saw something and then he saw candles, and so he went quietly around to peek through the window. It's just creepy, if you ask me. Okay, so at the same time, he tells us, yeah, I didn't care about it. I just cared about what she was doing with the kids in the house. All right, kind of, maybe, I don't know. Then around the same time, Nicole comes to him and she says, you know what? I went to Cabo with our friends Bruce and Christy Jenner. That's a throwback, right? And I met a guy and I'm crazy about him. And OJ says it's at this point where he decides, okay, she's crazy about another guy. Time for me to get back in the game. No more obligation. No more trying to figure this out. I'm back in. Let me see if I check comments real quick. Okay. Exactly. Not with a in his hand and refusing to talk to police, running from them. At this point, he had already talked with them. Interestingly enough, there's a interrogation video. He even refused having attorneys go down with him at first when he talked with them. And he went against their advice and had a few hours conversation. And they had said that he was very arrogant for having ignored his attorney's advice and doing that. Other people said running made him look guilty, but this running actually happened after the initial interrogation. The initial interrogation was voluntary, and they issued the warrant a few days later. So he went down there, he talked to them, he was staying with his friend Robert Kardashian, and then Robert Kardashian found out about the warrant, and he takes off with the gun with his friend AC and AC's car. It's unclear how they ended up in AC's car. He said something about wanting to go to the grave. I don't know if AC knew he had the piece or not, right? It's very vague. Big time throwback. Yeah, interesting, right? So I don't know what you all think. I want to throw that out there. This idea that it was arrogant of him to go with police. Well, was it? Or aren't those the actions of an innocent man to say, I don't need you, lawyer? He says Robert Kardashian and his other attorneys were trying to tell him not to go. And he said, no, I'm going alone. I don't want you here. And forbid Kardashian from going. So arrogance or innocence or neither. I don't know. That's one of the big controversial pieces that much is made of. Yeah, it's interesting. Okay. Okay, back to the notes. Okay. So back in the game. That's where we left off. He says the same night he talked on the phone with Nicole and decided we're over for good. She's crazy about this guy in Cabo. I'm getting back in the game. He went out to a club in LA and saw this woman who he refers to as Miss Hawaiian Tropic, who he'd known from years before and ends up getting together with her in the next few days. At the same time, the friends we met in chapter 1, Catherine and Marcus, they are trying to set him up with this friend named Paula, who's a model. So he's just met Paula and hooked up with her. He's kind of crazy about her, and he's hooking up with Miss Hawaiian Tropic, and he treats us to this kind of playful, funny, wannabe funny almost, stories about how he was so distracted by Paula, he forgot Miss Hawaiian Tropic was up in his bedroom, and the housekeeper helping him by getting one girl out before the other one got in, and he's describing himself as a cheater, and he's leaning into it. Right. Okay. So then, after making much of he didn't date in their beginning of their separation, he's into these 2 women. This guy does not have a cooling off period between relationships. At the same time he says this is happening, he says that word is getting out that he separated from Nicole, and then word is coming back to him that people are saying, oh, have you heard about what she's doing? Have you seen what she's into? Oh, I'm so sorry about Nicole. Kind of vaguely saying, oh, she's hanging with the wrong crowd. Oh, those girls that she's with, those people. But it remains vague about it. Okay, Tipton Mama says, he was friends with his attorneys. Sounds like he didn't want them to know what he did and thought he could handle it. In other words, arrogance. Yeah, we have a vote for arrogance. One of the attorneys, Kardashian, was who he was staying with. They were besties. I think that actually, and we'll get into this in a different down later in the chapter, but he sent Robert Kardashian to get the suitcase that he'd come back from with, that supposedly may have had evidence. So if you believe, I think this is actually, OJ talks about this, but people say that Robert Kardashian maybe wasn't there because he was busy running to collect the evidence, and he was the only attorney that OJ trusted for that. But it doesn't explain why he didn't allow another attorney to come with him. I think if it wasn't arrogance and if it wasn't innocence, then it was an attempt to look innocent. Obviously, yeah, right. The baggage. He'll talk about that later. It's crazy because I barely knew it at the time. Okay, that brings us to people saying that, quote, Nicole was into shit. Now, he gets very colorful about her sexual exploration. The suitcase thing, yes, the suitcase thing. So he gets very colorful about her sexual exploration, but he never gets colorful about the shit she was into. Comparatively mute on that partying accusations, which is odd. He has no detail to go into on that. It makes me wonder if it's, how true that might be, or how much he's exaggerating it. And he was known to be partying with sniffable substances as well. So he's simultaneously now painting her as a sex-crazed drug addict. Chapter 2 also introduces us to the character of Kathy Randa, OJ's personal assistant, always loyal and always willing to do whatever he asks of her. She gets involved in some of this drama, and she does pickups and coordinates kind of custody, and she's the one who calls the lawyers or takes the calls from Nicole. He talks a lot about traveling for Hertz, for golf tournaments, filming Naked Gun movies in Los Angeles, and he was also that same year in Barcelona covering the Olympics as a sports broadcaster. So he was pretty busy. He's running from coast to coast in America and to Europe. And he says, honestly, I was too busy to worry about the situation in my life, right? Probably, I believe that too. But yet he says at the same time, every time he's back in LA, things are developing with Paula. He sees her, she's there, it's just kind of moving forward. And then slowly, things are moving forward with Nicole too, where she's starting to talk with him about being lost and going to therapy and working on herself. So on page 34, OJ then tells us that as their divorce proceeded, suddenly the tone and tenor of Nicole's calls changed. And instead of asking him to kind of be her bestie and give sex advice, she was calling to tell him that her friends thought she should exaggerate the previous DV situations in order to get more money from their divorce because they'd had a prenup. But he says she's telling him this in a tone of, isn't that ridiculous? So I thought I want to read a little bit for you from page 34 because I thought that was quotable. I didn't know. Repeated batterings, I said. What the hell is that supposed to mean? What repeated batterings? I know, Nicole said. I can't believe it either. They're trying to convince me that I'm a victim of abuse. I didn't know what she was going to do, frankly, but I figured that when the time came, she'd do right by me. As it turned out, I was called to the stand first. I admitted that I'd become physical with Nicole in 1989, and I described in detail the events leading to the blow-up. And I pretty much blamed Nicole for the argument. Still, I took full responsibility for my response. I also said that Nicole had attacked me on several occasions in the years prior and in the years since, that I had learned to handle it by physically removing myself from the room, from the house, if necessary. Nicole sat in the courtroom listening, saying nothing, and the session ended before she could take the stand. She came over, smiled pleasantly, and asked if I was free for dinner. Does that feel strange to anyone? I felt like we were married again. Yeah, I always get nostalgic after testifying about, physical incidents between myself and my loved one. It was better than candles and clams. Very strange. Yeah. To me, it screams of fiending. I don't know. Something's very strange about that. We had a very nice dinner, and I asked, so we had a very nice time at dinner. I felt like we were married again. The next day we were back in court, and it was Nicole's turn to testify, but she didn't show up. She reached me on my cell in court and said, OJ, I just can't do it. I must tell you, I was pretty impressed. She was a good, moral, church-going person, and she simply refused to lie. That's his version. That she didn't show up to testify because she is a moral, church-going person. She didn't have to lie if it didn't happen. She could have showed up and told the truth. She could have echoed his version if his version was true. Not showing up says she couldn't face it, and not wanting to lie meant she didn't want to agree with him, in my opinion. Because it doesn't make any sense at all. You don't show up to testify because the truth would set him free? What? The only way that makes sense is if her testimony would have been condemning and lying would have failed to prosecute him. So this whole thing is just, what? Oh no, girl. I don't think so. Thank you, tipped in Mama. It is very strange. By the way, guys, if you haven't yet, please like the video while you're in. We have however many people are in here. We should have that many likes. If you guys don't mind, pretty please, we can get up there. So stop and drop a like, and let's keep going. All right, so I'm going to leave that section there and go back to my outline. Okay. Then on page 36, OJ drops another big bomb. He tells us that Nicole calls him and says she's pregnant. She calls him on the phone on page 36 and tells him she's pregnant. And he says, "Oh, I'm happy for you. With that guy you're so crazy about?" "No," she says, "someone else. And I'm going to get, and I'm not going to keep it. What do you think I should do?" And he says, "Well, you'll make the right decision. Whatever's right for you, I'm sure you'll do, honey." So I don't know if there's any evidence of that. I've never heard about that before. But he does tell us this in his book. And to me, it's slut shaming. That's what I think that's what I see this as. And it's also impugning her character if it's not true. He's suggesting that she was, sleeping randomly with people. I don't. Here we're going to read from page 36, and you tell me what you think for yourself. "What's up?" I asked Nicole. "Nothing," she said. I could see that something was on her mind, but I didn't pry. If she had something to tell me, she'd tell me in due course. A few days later, when I was in New York, she called. "I need to talk to you," she said. Definitely slut shaming. "Need to talk to you," she said. "Yeah? I'm pregnant." That threw me a little. "With the guy you're so crazy about?" I asked. "No," she said. "Someone else." And so you're not crazy about the other guy anymore? That ended a long time ago. "Oh," I said. I didn't know what else to say. "I guess I'm going to have an abortion," she said. I didn't know what to say to that either. What was I supposed to do? Give her my blessing or something? "I'm sure you'll do what you think is best," I said. "Thanks," she said. "For what?" "I don't know," she said. "For listening, I guess." And then we're going to keep going because this is really key as well. Page 37. One night, not long after, I was busy in my home office, working, and I could see Nicole was trying to reach me. She called my cell, my home, and my cell again. I finally picked up, angry. "What?" I barked. "I want to read you something," she said. I don't have time for this, Nicole. "It's from my will." I took a deep breath. "Okay," I said, "I'm listening." "This is in my will, word for word," she said. And she quoted directly from the document. "OJ, please remember me from early in our relationship, before I became so unhappy and so bitchy. Remember how much I truly love and adore you." "That's very nice," I said. "Don't forget," she said, "I mean it." "I won't." "Promise?" "I promise." It definitely infantilizes her. In October of the same year, the divorce became final. So, weird. Remember me how I was before I became so unhappy and so bitchy. So what he's building up to at this point in the chapter is that suddenly she's going to work on herself and she wants him back. Right? Suddenly she's realized what she's lost. She's a wreck. She's depressed. And she just can't function without him because she gave up the best thing she ever had. Part of this I bought because that is what he describes is the reaction that someone has after they've been discarded. So I think that part of what he's saying is true and part of it is a lie. So back to the outline. The next thing he describes is a bitter argument over Thanksgiving and who the kids were going to spend Thanksgiving with. So at that point, the lawyers got involved and it wasn't pretty. He apparently got the kids for Thanksgiving and she didn't. Oh, wait, no, it's opposite. She was supposed to bring them on a trip. And she said, I can't, the trip's off. And they had an ugly fight. I was furious, he said. I called my lawyer and he called her lawyer. But by then it was too late. I didn't get to spend Thanksgiving with my kids. I ended up going to Detroit for the network as originally planned, which made them happy. Still, I decided I was never going to let anything like that happen to me again. They agreed to let me have my kids over Christmas alone, just me and them, and I was immensely relieved and immensely excited. Then jump to December 23rd, and he says he gets a call from Nicole. She was crying so hard I couldn't understand a word she was saying, but she finally pulled herself together and told me she desperately wanted to come to New York. I can't be away from the kids, she said. I miss them too much. Please, OJ, let me come. I want to be with my kids. I don't want to be alone. Now, don't get me wrong. I was pissed at Nicole, but I've never been much good at holding grudges. Okay, I said, I'll have a ticket for you at the airport. Really? I guess she couldn't believe it was going to be that easy. Yes, I said, I'm sure the kids would love to have you here. Thanks, OJ. I mean it. There's one catch, I said. You can't sleep in the apartment with us. Paula wouldn't like it. I'll get you a hotel. But they did sleep together. They did sleep together. And at the end of the weekend, she was asking him, it was a great weekend, wasn't it? Didn't we feel like a family? And he is saying it was the last thing he wanted to hear, last thing he wanted to talk about. He has a relationship with Paula. He was just being nice to her. How did they end up in this situation? Right? What happened to us? She said. And she began to cry. We were so happy together. Us, I said. What do you mean us? You left me. I'm such a mess, she said, still crying. Look, I said, cutting her off. We had a few great days. Let's not blow it. I have to go to work tomorrow, and I've got notes to review, and the limo's coming at 11 to take you and the kids to the airport. She finished her wine and left for the hotel, thanking me again, and I went to review my notes for the next day. At that point, to be honest with you, I really didn't want to hear any more of her shit. Paula was still mad at me. It had taken 3 days of calling before she even spoke to me, and I was in no mood to listen to Nicole. We had some great times together, sure, but the last 2 years had been torture. Nicole had been erratic, moody, and worse, and it didn't look like she was getting any better. And I vowed to keep her at arm's length. I'd failed, but that Christmas, I decided that things were going to change. I was going to communicate with her only if it was about the kids. I didn't want to hear about her personal life. It was her life. She had chosen it. She had made that bed. And she needed to start getting used to it. Later, he quotes her again. I'm beginning to see that I messed up a lot of things for us, she said. I'm sorry. I blamed you for everything. Even in retrospect, he doesn't have the personal awareness or the self-awareness to realize that when she said, "What happened to us?" she might not have been talking about their separation. She might have been talking about why she was miserable enough to leave in the first place. What happened to us? The relationship deteriorated long before she asked for a separation. What happened to us? What was going on when it went bad? That's what maybe he needed to ask himself and wouldn't. Just my opinion. So in comes Kathy Randa again, the go-between between Nicole and OJ. And Nicole starts to figure out that every time he's not wanting to, he doesn't want to deal with her, Kathy comes in and says, "OJ's so busy." Okay, let's see, where do we get? And if you can't tell by now, this entire chapter is about Nicole's angst and how cool OJ didn't really give up. But, if she wanted him so bad, she was the mother of his kids, and he's a decent man, right? That is the whole theme of this chapter. But the way he talks, and a lot of information that he drops is interesting. So I'm going to gloss over the stuff that's not as interesting because that's really all he's telling us. And it's really kind of sad how he continues to talk about how much she tried to get him back. All right. So I want to belabor how much dignity he strips of her. Even if she was in that bad of a place, the sensitivity he deals with it is all that of a cut onion. So on page 44, he tells us, one day the kids showed up with a CD. "Mom made this for you on her computer," they said. "I listened to it and found that every last song was a love song. I was flattered, I guess, and maybe even a little moved, but that didn't change anything. Nicole and I were finished. Thank your mom for me," I told the kids. But again, I didn't bother thanking her myself. I didn't want to get into it because I wasn't going back. And yes, I know this goes against the popular conception that I was still madly in love with Nicole and pining to get her back, but it's God's own truth. One afternoon, I was packing for a trip to Cabo and waiting for my kids to show up. They were going to have dinner at my place and spend the night, and I was going to drop them back at Nicole's in the morning. On my way to the airport, but when I was done packing, I nodded off on the couch, and the phone rang a short time later, waking me. I answered it without checking the caller ID, and it turned out to be Nicole. "I want to talk," she said. "I don't want to talk," I said. "It's always a huge hassle. We're not together anymore. I can't be listening to your problems all the time." "I know, and I'm sorry," she said, "but there's something I need to say to you. I can't tell you on the phone. I need to tell you this in person. I can't talk right now. I have another call coming." This was a lie, but I wanted to get her off the phone. "Will you call me back?" "Sure," I said, but that was a lie too. I didn't call her back. And an hour later, my kids showed up at the house and they had a package for me. I opened the package and it was from Nicole. I found our wedding tape inside, along with a letter. In the letter, which I didn't read till later, Nicole told me she was learning a great deal about herself in therapy, and that she had come to realize that she was responsible for most of the problems in our marriage. She also said that she still loved me, that she had never stopped loving me, and that she wanted me to know that she believed we had truly had a great relationship. I always thought we had a great relationship, so this wasn't exactly a revelation. And as I read between the lines, or not even between the lines really, it was pretty clear that she was looking for us to reconcile. A cut onion, yeah, right. Thanks for appreciating. Okay, I went out to join the kids and was surprised to get sight of Nicole standing on the far side of the gate, looking toward the house. I didn't know she had dropped the kids off. Kathy Randa was in charge of that. But there she was, staring at me. And it didn't seem right to ignore her. She's staring at him through a gate from outside. He's describing her as a crazy stalker. What are you doing here? I said. What's with the wedding tape and stuff? I thought you were going to call me back, she said, avoiding the question. I fell asleep on the couch. Well, like I said on the phone, I have something to tell you. I was trapped. I sighed, a big sigh. Let's take a walk. We took a little walk around the neighborhood, the same walk we'd taken hundreds of times before. It was a nice neighborhood, quiet and peaceful, and we used to love to wander up and down the streets, looking at the houses, chatting with the neighbors. This time we weren't doing much looking or chatting. This time she just wanted to talk. And what she wanted to talk about, no surprise, was us getting back together. I always loved you, she said. I never stopped loving you, and I never told you I didn't love you. That's not entirely accurate, I said. You always told me you loved me, but you said you weren't in love with me. Well, I was wrong. I'm still in love with you. How can you be back in love with me? I said. We barely speak anymore. I've hardly seen you in months. I don't know, she said. I guess I've been dealing with all this stuff I was supposed to deal with, and everything's a little clearer now. I really feel we can make it work. I couldn't believe this, even though I'd seen it coming. You're telling me you want to get back together? I asked. Yes. I don't think that's in the cards, I said. I think it might be good for the kids if we tried to have a friendly dinner, but that's about it. So they ended that conversation with her agreeing to have family dinners and her observing, you've got pictures of Paula all over the house. That's right, he said. In case you hadn't heard, we're dating. She smiled, trying to hide the hurt, and sat on the couch across from me. I didn't know what she was still doing here, and I was about 10 seconds away from getting rude. Thanks for letting me hang out, she said. I just didn't feel like being alone. It's amazing the way people can whip themselves into shape when they put their mind to it, I thought. So then we skip to New Year's, and he goes further into Nicole's depression. And of course, the depression is about how much she loves him, and he doesn't love her. She wants him back, and he doesn't because he's moved on. And then she had the kids on New Year's Eve, bring him a letter, which read, I never stopped loving you. I stopped liking myself and lost total confidence in any relationship with you. I want to put our family back together. I want our kids to grow up with their parents. I thought I'd be happy raising Sydney and Justin by myself since we didn't see too much of you anyway, but now I want to be with you. I want to love you and cherish you and make you smile. I want to wake up with you in the mornings and hold you at night. I want to hug you and kiss you every day. I want us to be the way we used to be. There was no couple like us. I don't know what I went through. I didn't believe you loved me anymore, and I couldn't handle it. But for the past month, I've been looking at our wedding tape and our family movies, and I can see that we truly loved each other, a love I've never seen in any of our friends. Please look at the 2 tapes I'm sending over with this letter. Watch them and do it with your phone turned off. They're really fun to watch. She ended her letter with the following. OJ, you'll be my one and only true love. I'm sorry for the pain I've caused you, and I'm sorry we let it die. Please let us be a family again, and let me love you better than I ever have before. I'll love you forever and always. Me. And at the bottom, she had drawn a smiley face. I went to bed and reread the letter. I had trouble falling asleep that night. Let's talk about that for a minute. Yeah, it's pretty cold. He's pretty cold. All right. Because it's all her fault. It's all her. Yeah. So I always hesitate to just drop something in that general big bag of narcissist, label it, and explain it that way, right? Done. Easy explanation. But this woman, Nicole, was in a relationship with a man that really reads as quite narcissistic. And what I suspect is that it's known that he was cheating on her. It sounds like her emotional state just couldn't take it. It was volatile and she needed space. And once she got that space and felt the full force of the discard and that it didn't matter to him at all, that she left. She started to internalize her guilt, internalize her grief, blame herself, and lapse into a very deep depression, believing that if they could just put their family back together again, everything would be okay. Thank you. That's my read on that she was very much in a dark place and felt that all of her value lie in his valuation of her. She was nobody in her social life but OJ Simpson's wife. She had not had a chance to create a life for herself. She was very much living under his shadow, as he quoted her telling him. And I suspect that meant she felt controlled and she felt that he was overbearing and she didn't have anything that belonged to her or space for that. And he was always gone anyway and engaging in infidelity. So probably I suspect, said, "You crossed my last boundary." And he ignored it. And later she blames herself, saying, "Oh, I didn't handle it right. I could have handled it better if I had only." That's the stages of grief. He moved on. She didn't. She was in the stages of grief. Leaving was part of it. And this is part of it, if it's true. That's how I view this. And this is very personal analysis because I myself went through those stages of grief through my divorce, even though I moved out. And I went through that phase of blaming myself for all of it. And if I could just work on myself, I could fix the us. A lot of people, not just women, have this experience. And when they get back together, they find that all of the problems that were there when they chose to ultimately quit are still there. And now they've already quit, and now it's easier. Like the second time, it's easier of a break to make. So I think that this was a very toxic relationship. She was young. She was emotionally unhealthy, ultimately, in the relationship. And that might be a result of being with this personality. It might also just be her problems, right? It doesn't always have to be someone else's fault. It might be problematic. She might have not had the best, support up to 18 if she was attracted to and wanted to. Well, then it was OJ Simpson, right? Who wouldn't want to be with OJ Simpson? He had a charisma. He was famous. Everybody knew OJ Simpson. So then he kind of talks about how they're going back and forth. Their friends Catherine and Marcus are supporting her. They think she should get back together. And she's the mother of his children, but he's committed to Paula. And oh, what does he do? He's stuck between two women who love and want him. Poor man. He says to her, "Catherine is really your friend." And she says, "Marcus is not your friend." Page 52. Salacious. Ready? "What do you mean, Marcus? Marcus is not your friend. What is that supposed to mean?" She looked at me like she really wanted to say something that she couldn't bring herself to say. And then it hit me. Did something happen between you and Marcus? I asked. She put her head down on the table and started crying louder. I felt like the whole restaurant was looking at us, so I turned and signaled for the check. When I turned back to look at Nicole, she was lifting her head off the table, sniffling, and using the napkin to dry her tears. She looked at me, all pitiful. That is a pitiful picture, isn't it? What? I said. Something did happen with Marcus. Man, I'll tell you, another guy would have probably lost it. But I didn't lose it. I just shook my head, kind of stunned. And the bill came and I paid it and we went outside. I haven't said a word to her the whole time. I was still trying to process what she'd just told me. What? She said, like she was scared of me or something. You're not going to talk to me now? I'll talk to you later when I can think of something to say. I drove her back to the funeral home because her car was still in the parking lot, but I didn't say a word to her the entire time. When we got there, not 10 minutes later, I cut the engine and I unloaded on her. Why didn't you tell me this shit about you and Marcus? I said. Oh, no. Excuse me. Why did you tell me this shit about you and Marcus? I didn't need to know this. I just thought you should know, she said, stammering. He pretends to be your friend, and then he fools around with me, and I don't think it's right that he knows something about us that you don't. Hey, we're not married anymore, remember? You're single, and he's single. The only thing I don't get is why you did it. You're always... Guys! The little bird is chirping. Hi. Oh, now you're talking? You want to talk? She does have a cute little chirp, doesn't she? I don't know what I was thinking, she said. He was so nice to me, and he always listened, and it just sort of happened. The shit doesn't just happen, I said. I'm sorry. Forget it. You don't owe me an apology. You don't owe me anything. But I still can't understand why you told me. Or what you all expect me to do. It's not like I'm going to cancel their wedding or something. No, of course not. You know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to do anything. This has got nothing to do with me. Don't get mad, OJ. I'm not mad. I'm just telling you. We're not married anymore, Nicole. And the reason we're not married is because you didn't want to be married. I'm sorry. Stop apologizing, I said. I'm just telling you how it is. So what am I supposed to do about Marcus? See, there you go again. You're asking me what to do. Can't you figure it out for yourself? Isn't that what you wanted? To get out from under my shadow, to go off and be on your own, to have your own friends and be your own person. She was crying again, but he keeps calling me. So tell him you're going to tell Catherine. You think I should? I bet that would stop him pretty quick. She was crying again. I'm a mess, OJ. Nicole, come on. Can I come up to the house to see the kids? They're asleep. I want to see them. Cut to the last page. Can I just stay here for a little bit, please? If you want to know the truth, I felt bad for her. Even with all the therapy and all these new insights and stuff, it was obvious that she was still having trouble getting it together. We went upstairs. The kids were fast asleep. I stripped to my underwear and got into my side of the bed, careful not to wake them. Nicole lay down on the far side of the kids, saying she wouldn't stay long. I guess I must have nodded off, because the next thing I knew, she was standing by my side of the bed, tugging on my arm. A moment later, I found myself following her into the bedroom next door, and a moment after that, we were making love. It was the first time we'd been together since the split, and I was feeling all sorts of feelings I would have preferred not to feel. Needless to say, it was all very confusing. The end of chapter 2. Wow. Pity? What do you guys think? The next, thank you. The next chapter is called Period of Confusion, in which the Juice juggles two women, Nicole and Paula, for quite a while. And we'll get the sordid details of that. All right. Well, that's it for today. This was pretty fun to get into. I think it sets the tenor of the dynamic. He's super dismissive, pretty arrogant, pretty into himself, and loving every minute of Nicole's depression, sorrow, blaming herself, and encouraging her to do so. And this is a twist the knife kind of guy. Well, it's too late. You know why it's too late? Because of what you did. That's why. You made it too late. And now you're going to regret it. Right? Super emotionally sadistic. And it's not like he's that into her. Yeah, he tipped a mama. He blames her for everything. Definitely a narcissist. A telltale sign of a real narcissist, not just somebody, the guy you broke up with who you think was selfish and therefore he must be a narcissist. Thank you, Tipton Mama. Thank you very much. The telltale sign of the real narcissist is they're absolutely never at fault for any mistake whatsoever, which is completely unreal and impractical and inhuman. Somebody's trying to convince you that they're a saint. Something's up with that person's character, because we're all flawed. And that's why a little self-deprecation in humor, or a little a little humility, is endearing, because we understand that there's reflection involved. We understand that there's something going on behind the eyes. But the person who is never willing to look inside and say, what part could I have played? That's a real wall. And according to Joshua Johnson, who is a former FBI profiler, and I really just, his description of a true narcissist, I'm not sure if I can find the page or I can find it for you for next episode, is that everyone has narcissism inside of us, right? We all do. And the simple definition of that is the identity of ourself that we put forward, that the way we see ourselves, and the disparity between the way we see ourselves and who we really are, right? It's a level of narcissism to be into your image and to push your image forward and focus more on that than the reality of people around you and the feedback that they give you. And Johnson says that where one goes beyond and crosses the pale of just having narcissistic behaviors or tendencies, as do we all, to being pathologically narcissistic, is when they care more about that constructed identity than anything or anyone else. Again, OJ will reveal his mindset and his character further as we go through the book. Again, chapter 3 is Period of Confusion. I'll see y'all next week. Stay salty. And if you have to chase, make sure it's slow speed.